Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Look North, our top story tonight. A warm welcome in Yorkshire for the Sudanese refugee fleeing his war-torn country.
The house, we don't know what will happen there to the house. Maybe it will be ransacked, maybe destroyed.
We'll hear from a reporter on the border in Saudi Arabia. Also tonight, the grieving parents of a 5-year-old boy say they want answers from Sheffield Children's Hospital. And ahead of a very royal weekend, we hear from the 97-year-old with fond memories of the Queen's coronation in 1953.
And it's a beautiful day out here on Baildon Moor, so what better way to spend it than to go alpaca trekking? And why wouldn't you want to? This fella's adorable, so fluffy.
And the bluebells are out in force in Barnsley with that blue sky. What a lovely day it's been. What about tomorrow and into the bank holiday weekend? Join me for the detailed forecast.
Hello, good evening. Families who've arrived in Yorkshire having fled war-torn Sudan say they're worried about loved ones that they've left behind. So far, 100,000 people have left the country since heavy fighting broke out between rival forces. Around 2,500 have been airlifted to safety on UK flights. Some have ended up in Leeds with traumatic stories to tell. Our reporter Heidi Tomlinson has been to meet them.
Over 100,000 people have fled Sudan, but those left behind are trapped in Khartoum, often without water or electricity, trying to work out the best course of action to survive. Sudanese students at Leeds University are in contact with family in the capital. It's an anxious time for Usman Ali. His mother sent him this video of chaos at a passport office as they tried to cross the border.
They took a really long, dangerous trip to Egypt. I was speaking to my sister about it, and the things she was describing was horrendous. Like in terms of no electricity, having no food, no water. My sister telling me about my little brother crying, and obviously, like children shouldn't go through this.
Feeling helpless, Osman texts his 14-year-old brother every day, but the replies are often alarming. Around 2,500 British nationals have been evacuated to safety in the UK.
Assalamu alaikum.
Bushra Saeed received a warm welcome home. He arrived in Leeds 3 days ago after weeks of sheltering from clashes between rival forces in Khartoum. Officials are warning of an all-out catastrophe if the fighting continues.
No electricity, no water. Sometimes they give us a call that there is a water tanker is coming to distribute some water. So we go out, get our portion and get inside. We don't know what will happen there to the house. Maybe it will be ransacked, maybe destroyed. This is only just a war of power. It's not. We will not get anything from it.
In amongst the relief of being safe, Bushra's torn because his wife isn't a British national and can't stay in the UK. She's currently on a bus travelling to Sudan's border with Egypt. The separation is causing him deep distress.
I'm feeling terrible because I don't know for how long this will be. This is very hard. Yeah, it's a very hard situation. Upsetting, I think.
A series of temporary ceasefires have failed to hold.
Do you think the ceasefire is going to happen? It's going to work?
Those watching and waiting here can only hope for peace negotiations rather than a protracted battle. Heidi Tomlinson, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Our reporter Mahanad Hashim is in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, where large numbers of refugees have escaped to. He told me what the situation was like on the ground.
We're here in Saudi Arabia. We've been witnessing one of the biggest evacuation efforts mounted by any regional country. In the past few weeks, Saudi Arabia has managed to at least evacuate 6,000 people. Mostly they were foreign nationals or Sudanese with dual nationalities. And they come in here into Saudi Arabia, they're being put up, and then from here they move forward because Saudi Arabia doesn't want to hold a lot of refugees in the country.
And how desperate are people?
Many people have fled in real fear from where the things that they have experienced in the early days of the fighting in Khartoum. Many of the Sudanese who arrived here are traumatized. Several people were ill. There were some disabled members who have been coming here. It's a very bad situation for the people who are still stuck across the Red Sea in Port Sudan, trying to find a way to escape it all.
We've heard from people in Yorkshire separated from loved ones who are worried about getting them out of the country. Is it getting harder and harder?
The concern is about the hundreds of thousands that are still stranded in and around the various routes that they're trying to escape, but also the millions who are still held up in Khartoum, the Sudanese capital, where the fighting appears to continue despite the several agreements for truce between the two warring factions.
There was another evacuation flight from Sudan today to the UK, but there are concerns about that ceasefire holding, as you just mentioned. Are these going to get fewer and fewer, do you think?
It's not clear what the British government's take will be, depending on how many British citizens are in Port Sudan, or for that matter, in Khartoum. The flights are, the situation is being reviewed constantly by the British government, and we understand that several Sudanese British citizens have made, many of them have made their own ways to safety through either Egypt or Ethiopia, or even here to Saudi Arabia.
Hannah, thank you for your time. Next night, the grieving parents of a 5-year-old boy are calling for answers from Sheffield Children's Hospital after he died in March. Little Ayan had a history of respiratory illnesses and a rare genetic condition. His parents claim warnings about the seriousness of his health condition were not heeded to by hospital staff. Sheffield Children's Hospital say they're commissioning an independent investigation into the circumstances that led to the little boy's death. Phil Bodmer has the story.
Ayan Rashid was born with a rare genetic condition called HACE1. The 5-year-old had a history of breathing problems. He was admitted to Sheffield Children's Hospital after becoming unwell on March the 5th. He lost his battle for life a week later. His parents claim medical staff ignored warnings about his condition and treatment.
So when he went to the ward, that's where the issue started. Nobody read his notes, nobody would listen. I kept asking that he needs regular suction, nebulizers, chest physio, because he can't cough mucus up. And that's why I was trained to do that at home. They didn't carry out that most important procedure in the hospital, and they refused to allow me to do it. They said they didn't know if I was competent or not, despite me being trained by the same hospital.
Haroon says he knew Ayan was displaying signs of pneumonia. Tests eventually confirmed adenovirus. He claims staff told his wife Ayan was deteriorating in front of other people on the ward rather than in a private space.
It's part of the policy of this hospital that if doctors need to tell you anything, upsetting or any bad news, that they take you in a private space where you have that, quiet space where they can sit down and explain to you what is, so you can digest it. Not when you've got people in the background and you've got all sorts of conversations going on behind you.
The family say to make matters worse, the hospital then phoned to make an appointment for Ayan a week after he died.
Somebody rang me from the hospital saying we've had a last-minute cancellation and we'd like to give you an appointment. I thought it was for my daughter. Then when she said it's for Mohammed Ayan Haroon, then I was like, why are you making this call? My son passed away 10 days ago. Do you not know? It's all over your systems. Every department knows he sadly passed away.
If they'd have listened to you, Haroon, when you first took Ayan to hospital, do you think he would have still been here now?
Yes, because he had the same virus in November and they listened. And when he went in November, the next day they took him to ICU. This time they kept him on a ward for 3 days.
The family are due to meet hospital bosses in the coming days to discuss the concerns they have raised. Phil Bodmer, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
Our thoughts are with Ayan's family. A spokesperson for Sheffield Children's NHS Foundation Trust said, "Our deepest condolences go out to Ayan's family for their loss." The death of a child while they are a patient at Sheffield Children's is something we take very seriously. An external independent investigation is being commissioned into Ion's care and treatment. We will continue to work with the family throughout the complaints process. You're watching Wednesday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. Leeds United appoint new manager Sam Allardyce as the battle to avoid relegation. Let's talk about the local elections. It's tomorrow, so do not forget your ID. We'll be out at election counts after the polls close, giving you all the information that you need about who has won and who has lost. So where do we need to look out for? We've sent our political editor, James Vincent, to York. James, is that going to be a big battle there?
Yeah, good evening, Amy from York Racecourse. I'll spare you all the puns about runners and riders and the winning post. We've not got time for that. Also, we'll need that sort of material for next year when the general election comes around. But yeah, York Racecourse is where they'll be counting the votes for York City Council. And this could be, you know, pretty tasty. The Lib Dems and the Greens run York City at the moment jointly. The Lib Dems only need 3 seats to take complete control. Labour needs 7. And Labour actually are talking a strong game about the possibility of whether they can take it. There's been a visit here by Keir Starmer, and they think that they might be able to do enough to win York City Council. One of the issues people have been talking about in the run-up to this election and for the last couple of years is the blue badge scheme in York and the fact that some people can't get access to the city centre. So we asked the leaders of the parties about that.
Well, I think it's up to York to make these decisions. What I can say when I look at the record of Keith Aspden and the York Liberal Democrats, I'm really proud of what they have achieved.
We've got a positive case, and frankly, the current administration is in a complete mess. You know, no better example of that than the blue badge issue for disabled people not being able to come in, access the city centre.
The Greens are really worried about the impact that could have on the ability of some disabled people who need to use a private car to access the city centre. So they're looking into ways to fix that.
We won a lot of new seats across the north of England in the 2019 election, and my Conservative colleagues in those areas are fighting very hard and demonstrating the real change that we're delivering and improvements for people.
OK, so that's York, James. Where else should we be looking?
Well, other places to keep an eye on will be Sheffield. Labour need 4 seats to take control of the council there. At the moment, it's run by Labour, the Lib Dems and the Greens. If there is a national swing towards Labour, they might be confident of taking it. But local issues like the felling of the trees, with the report came out recently about that, and the clean air zone may not help their chances there. Bolsover, Labour can take control of that again fully. They're just in control with 1 seat. They can keep that. And North East Derbyshire, the Conservatives did take control of that. They lost a couple of councillors. Can they hold on to North East Derbyshire? But yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of days. Voting tomorrow, 7 a.m. it starts. Don't forget your photo ID. And to everybody involved in the local elections, may the 4th be with you.
Oh, James, you were doing so well up until that point. Thank you. OK, there's just one other bit of news to tell you about. Fire crews are tackling another fire on the West Yorkshire moorland. 3 teams of firefighters and 4 wildlife support units were called to Marsden Moor this afternoon. The public have been warned to stay away from the area. This comes less than 2 weeks after 2 other fires were reported on the moors, which police think were started deliberately. Right, football, let's talk about Leeds United, shall we? Sam Allardyce has been confirmed as the new team boss. Oggie's here. He's only got 1 job here, hasn't he, Oggie?
Yes, to spend...
It's a big one.
Yes, and it's to dedicate the next month of his life to trying to keep Leeds United in the Premier League. It is a big job. He's as shocked as we are that Leeds are in the predicament they are. He's shocked, he's used the word himself, to be in the job for that reason, Amy. We could fill a whole Look North regurgitating what Sam Allardyce has said to the media today. But he's acutely aware, for example, that he's seen as a bit old school. He has compared himself favourably in terms of depth of knowledge to Klopp and Arteta and Guardiola. But we can hear from him now on the size of the task. He's acutely aware of it, as well as the culture that he's put his name to now.
Many people who I know have sent in their congratulations, and a few have said I must be mad. But I enjoyed the game so much, and and they've tried to try and be able to save this club and put it back and keep it in the Premier League is a big responsibility, and a big challenge, but one I was prepared to take because of who Leeds United are.
You said there, a few people have said I must be mad. This is the fourth manager, isn't it?
Yes.
Of the season. The last one only lasted 3 months.
That's right. But he knows why he's got the job. You don't get jobs with teams in good positions. He knows that more than anybody. Amy, just want to look at the table will tell us just how acute Leeds' problems are. But they have got 4 matches left to do it in. As long as Sam Allardyce does what he does best, which is improve defence, his trade position. Leeds have conceded 12 goals in the last 3 home games alone. That's where he'll start, Amy. The fixtures, 4 left, start away at Manchester City on Saturday. It'd be interesting to see exactly how well he does. Before I leave the sport, there's something else important I need to tell you about cricket. The England and Wales Cricket Board have today recommended a combination of fines, suspensions, reprimands and even education courses for former Yorkshire players and coaches who were found to have used racist slurs at the club by the Cricket Discipline Commission panel. Those charges stem from claims made by former Yorkshire player Azim Rafiq. A decision on exactly which sanctions will be applied won't actually be made for several weeks yet, and it won't be until late June that sanctions against Yorkshire County Cricket Club themselves will be discussed. That is at a different hearing, and we'll keep you posted on that when the time comes.
Always a pleasure to welcome you in the studio, Oggy. Thank you. Right, let's talk about the coronation now, shall we? There are just 3 days to go till King Charles III is coronated. On May the 6th, the King will be crowned alongside Camilla, the Queen Consort, at Westminster Abbey in London. The King has opted for a smaller, shorter and more diverse ceremony than the previous coronation held by his mother in 1953. The coronation will take place at Westminster Abbey in London, and that's the same location that's been used for 956 years since the Battle of Hastings in 1066. His Majesty will be the 40th monarch to be crowned there. Along his side, more than 6,000 men and women from the UK's armed forces and nearly 400 from at least 35 Commonwealth countries will take part in the coronation as well. The Archbishop of York, the Most Reverend Stephen Cottrell, will be at the service. I asked him what role he'll be playing.
I'm obviously at the service itself alongside the Archbishop of Canterbury. I don't actually have that much to do, but I'm sort of pretty front and centre alongside the Archbishop of Canterbury, helping and assisting him, and also, of course, helping and assisting the King and Queen.
And how different will this coronation be in regard to what was with the Queen 70 years ago?
Well, the main elements of the coronation service are, when I say as they've always been, as they go back down through the centuries. But I think if you look at the coronation services, they always evolve a bit. Each one carries a bit of the mark of the king or queen coming into their new role, but also reflect a bit of the times in which we live.
Do you think there's the same interest in the coronation as there was 70 years ago? In a YouGov poll earlier this month, 35% of adults said that they didn't really care much about the historic event.
Well, I think once we actually get to Saturday and get to the coronation, I think most people are going to be, if not actually sitting and watching the whole thing, though millions and millions will. I think most people will take an interest in what's happening. It is an historic day. It's a day when I hope our nation will come together and where I hope that theme of service will speak to all of us in different ways.
You were part of the late Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebration, also the Queen's funeral, and now the coronation of a new king. Wow. I mean, what an honour is it to be part of another historical event?
Yeah, my arm's getting a little bit bruised as I keep pinching myself that somehow it's during my term of office that these great historic things have taken place, and I'm privileged, humbled, and yes, overjoyed really to play my small part in it all. But I hope I will do it in a way that represents the people of the North, and hopefully brings a human touch to it all. Because on the one hand, this is the grandest service I'll ever have taken part in, the grandest service most of us will have ever seen, and yet the service is also a simple one. It's a service of Holy Communion, a service that anybody and everybody can go to any day of the week, every Sunday.
Well, I hope it all goes to plan. Archbishop Stephen, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy every moment.
Thank you, Amy.
Gosh, what a moment to be part of. And someone who remembers the last coronation, retired Commander Eric Verge, is one of a dwindling group of people who were actively involved in the coronation of late Queen Elizabeth in 1953. At the ripe old age of 97, he can remember it like it was yesterday. Nicola Reese has been to meet him and to hear his memories of that wonderful day.
Is that you there?
Yeah, you can see me there with the flag in the...
Oh, wow.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
70 years ago, Eric Verge from Guiseley had the honour of receiving the Queen's colours. The moment was captured on film and seen around the world.
At Plymouth, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, presents a new Queen's colour on
There's
behalf
the
of...
Queen Mother putting the colour into my colour belt.
Wow.
When she said, "Is that all right?"
And what did you say?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, it was such an enormous honour. I mean, really, I was the focus of the Royal Navy that day.
In 1953, Eric was a 27-year-old gunnery officer in the Royal Navy. Ahead of the Queen's coronation, he was responsible for training hundreds of marching officers. And on the day itself, he had an important job, parading the colours.
On the morning, we were called at 3 o'clock. I then went on and had my breakfast and my half cup of tea. Not only a half cup of tea, because I had been instructed how to dry out, because the First Sea Lord had decided that the colour officers would not be relieved during their 9 or 10 hour stint.
So you knew you were in for a long day?
We all knew we were in a long day, and we trained for it. It was tradition in the Navy that when they stood at ease, they didn't move. So we trained to move our toes and slightly elevate our heels, keep the blood circulating. But the atmosphere was very noisy and, you know, charged with atmosphere, really. And we were all greatly honoured to be there to honour our Queen. I'm getting ready for the great occasion. I'm sure it will go splendidly. I'm very much looking forward to the music in the Abbey. His taste in music and mine are very similar.
At 97 years old, Eric is happy to hand over the marching responsibilities this time, but he'll be watching closely and hoping this coronation goes as smoothly as it did back then.
Oh, well, there you are. God save the King.
Nicola Reese, BBC Look North, Guiseley.
Good on you, sir.
Oh, so lovely to hear his memories there. Now, take a look at these cuties. You might expect to see horses and sheep, even cows out on a stroll, but on Belden Moor, high above Bradford, look out for these alpacas. A family company takes the animals into care homes and also into schools. But today it was the turn of some students from Bradford College to take them for a walk. Tom Ingle went along too.
Yorkshire traditions, the hills, the ramblers, and now apparently the alpacas.
Come on, Felton, come on, warrior. Where's King Kong gone? We started off with just a load of rescue animals, and then one day I saw a couple of alpacas for sale on Facebook that had done trekking before, and thought, wow, we're in the best location for it, so why not have a go, see what happens? They're just very, very calming, therapeutic animals, so they're really good for people who are nervous or are stressed, and they can really sense people's emotions.
Making up the two-legged contingent of this caravan across Belden Moor, students from Bradford College.
It's fun, it's a nice exercise and it's a good experience.
Yes, I was nervous because I wasn't around alpacas, but now that I've got used to him, he's lovely.
He looks very friendly, doesn't he? He's eating a lot of grass there.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce me to your companion here?
This is King Kong.
Really, King Kong?
Yes.
And has he behaved like a monkey today, or...?
No, a bit slow.
So we're getting towards the end of term with the students now, and they've all done really well, and this is a bit of a reward for the students who've got good attendance. It's lovely to see them out of the classroom and connecting with each other in a different way and connecting with nature as well. Yeah. It's nice to see some of the students who can be quite quiet in the classroom coming alive when they're with the animals and taking responsibility for something else as well, and having to be really present with the animal.
The family firm who run the walks also take the animals into care homes. It's not hard to see why. The alpacas are instantly friendly company. It was only an hour's stroll, but that was plenty of time for these students, some of whom have their own challenges to face, making memories to last a lifetime. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, Baildon Moor.
They're very cute, aren't you? Did you know alpaca poop makes very good manure, Paul?
Oh, that's an interesting fact of the day, isn't it? I was just... I don't know what to say to that, so I'll just...
Very good for your roses.
Thank you very much. Let's have a look at the pictures that you've sent in the last 24 hours, because the first one is a common scene now across Yorkshire. Some people hate the oilseed rape, but I love it, and the contrast there between the blue sky and the yellow is really fabulous. And the second picture is Andy, who clearly had problems sleeping last night because he was up at 5:32, he tells me, in Armley in Leeds watching the sunrise, and that was quite a treat. Keep the pictures coming in, Twitter, Instagram and the Weather Watcher website. So tomorrow does look mostly fine, although there will be more in the way of cloud, I think, especially in the morning across the Pennines. We're going to get some low cloud developing, but there'll be some sunshine at times. And then we see it all change, rain coming up from the southwest, and that opens us up to a very unsettled, quite warm southwesterly. It does look as though we'll see rain spreading from the south during Saturday. Current timings bring it across us Saturday afternoon into Saturday evening, with Sunday and Monday sunshine and showers. Looks like the heaviest and most frequent showers could well be on Bank Holiday Monday, but it's certainly a showery picture with some warm sunshine in between. Now there's a satellite picture. You can see there's not much cloud. There was quite a bit that developed this afternoon across western areas, but that will melt away, and then overnight, as the easterly wind picks up, we will see quite a bit of low cloud, especially across the upslopes of the Pennines. A little bit of low cloud further east too. Temperatures coming in at 4 Celsius, that's 39 Fahrenheit. So tomorrow's high water times, a very chilly east coast with a fresh easterly wind around about 4:08 in Scarborough, again at 4:17. So cloudy in places at first, especially across the Pennines. This cloud could take during the morning to break up, but there'll be some sunshine coming through, the best of which will be across more central and eastern areas, but a fair variation in temperatures with a brisk easterly. 10 if you're lucky in Scarborough, probably 8 or 9 actually. Best temperatures in the west, 14 Celsius is 57 degrees Fahrenheit. Friday then. Rain at first, sunshine and showers later. Saturday, a bright start, rain later. Sunday, sunny spells and scattered showers, similar on Bank Holiday Monday. The one positive is temperatures look pretty good. That's the forecast.
Would you like another alpaca fact, Paul?
Go on then.
They have waterproof coats, so they'll be fine in that miserable forecast you've just given us.
Well, there we are. Yeah, now move over, Alan Partridge.
That's it from us. Good night.